Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
What London does not need is more penthouses, but more regular, affordable houses. That's Sadiq Khan's plan. He wants to quadruple new affordable homes from 11,000 a year to 44,000. But he has precious little power to make it happen, even though he's the mayor of one of the world's greatest capitals. In fact, almost 500,000 families now share with other families, such as the housing shortage in London. But right across Britain, there are obstacles to building affordable housing, some put there by complex planning regulations, but others by developers themselves, one that allows them to wriggle out of their obligations to build affordable homes on every new development. Our policy editor, Chris Cook, has this.
Where better to begin thinking about homes than the most famous publicly funded housing in the country? The cost of housing is one of England's critical problems. It's something the government is very sorely aware of. Affordable housing rules are one of their key levers for trying to mitigate it. But the thing about housing policy is that, just like this location, not everything, as is at first, appears. Affordable housing is a home deliberately offered at below market rates. So it includes social housing, but also stuff like shared equity housing. About half of the flow of new affordable homes are built by private developers who have to include them in new developments. So in London, say, if you develop a plot of more than 10 homes, it's expected that at least 35% of them should be affordable homes. And in some circumstances and in some boroughs, half. Sometimes you get a bit less housing than you might expect. Our affordable housing rules contain a concept known as viability. Developers are expected to be able to make a profit, usually about 20% of the total sale value of a site. And if they can't meet that benchmark, then they're allowed to cut the amount of affordable housing they're obliged to offer. This is a process that Shelter, the housing charity, believe is undermining our affordable housing policy.
The viability loophole is actually enshrined in the law, and it means that if a developer believes they can't make enough profit out of a development, they can completely opt out of building the affordable homes element, no matter what the council policy on affordable homes states. And this was brought in during the crash, the financial crash, because it was felt that unless something was done to protect profits, houses just wouldn't be built. But obviously, we're not in that situation now.
How big a deal is all of this? Well, there's a little complication here. Sometimes developers pay a sum in lieu of providing affordable housing on site. But a viability assessment will always mean less investment in affordable housing. Let's take this example from the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. Developers have permission to turn the building behind me into 25 homes. And according to the local affordable housing quotas, half of them should be affordable. In practice, because of the viability loophole, none will be. All the developers are going to do is pay the council £200,000. The thing is, the house builders have a point. Some sites can't support lots of affordable homes.
You can't have a rigid quota for affordable housing because all sites have different costs associated with them. Imagine redeveloping an old gasworks. You would have to clean up the land before you could build houses on it, and that would have a different cost to it to where you didn't have to do that work. It would mean that some sites were totally unviable for development, which means that you would end up with fewer houses when we need more.
But we should be looking at this issue because the net effect is quite big. In the last year alone, viability was used to strike out the need for 1,000 affordable homes from planning permissions granted in Birmingham, and the council got just £5 million in lieu of that. In Manchester, it was used to strike out the need for 472 affordable homes, and the council got no money. In Bristol, Viability claimed 196 affordable homes and they got just £131,000. Across 11 local authorities, Shelter found 2,500 affordable homes struck out in 1 year. Now, let's suppose that I'm a developer who's decided he's going to do a bit of work on this rather undesirable bit of brownfield land in central London. And let's say I work out that I can make a decent profit and deliver affordable housing so long as I don't spend more than £10 million on this grotty little plot. The thing is, I also know that if I spend more than £10 million, the council will tell me I don't have to build as much affordable housing. So the viability assessment process encourages me to spend more money on land, which fuels land price inflation, and it does so at the expense of affordable housing.
Frankly, it's simply wrong that in Britain in 2017, where it's not exactly difficult to make a profit out of building homes, we are effectively underwriting developers' profits by sacrificing the affordable homes that people desperately need because we're in the grip of an acute housing crisis.
I think that we should be questioning why we are dependent on private sector cross-subsidy to provide over half of the affordable housing that we provide in this country. There must be a better way. What it does is it drives up the cost of land and it drives up the cost of houses.
This whole system exists to avoid having the state raise and spend money directly on affordable housing. But the consequences of this aren't good for anyone.
Chris Cook there. Well, earlier today I spoke to the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who fought his mayoral campaign with housing issues front and centre. We also spoke about the revelations of harassment and bullying sexual behaviour, though the interview was recorded before the news of Bex Bailey's rape. First, though, I asked what the Mayor means when he talks about affordable housing.
I mean one of three things. One is a home where you pay a social rent. Think of it as a council property. Two, it's a home where you pay a London living rent. That's a third of average local earnings. Or three, it's what I call shared ownership, part buy and part rent. But actually, for too many years now, the homes that have been deemed affordable, the few that have, aren't really affordable. I'm saying to developers, I'm saying to local authorities, my expectation is if you want me to approve an application, I want a certain percentage to be affordable, and by affordable, I mean how I define it rather than the previous dodgy definition.
You want to go from 29,000 new homes in London to 66,000, and you want 65% of them to be affordable, whereas just now it's only 38%. By when? And by what measure?
So we've looked at London's population now, currently 8.7 million, by 2020 9 million, by 2030 at 10 million. So we've worked out what the needs of our city are, both annually and what percentage should be affordable. And the expert advice is we will need over the next period, every year, 66,000 homes over the next 20 years, and a significant number of those need to be affordable. I can't deliver that unless the government steps in and gives us the support we need.
So, Kensington and Chelsea, the development of 25 homes, half are meant to be affordable, none is, and the developers simply handed over £200,000 to the council. How'd they get away with that?
There are many examples, I'm afraid, of local authorities being hoodwinked by developers. A number of things. Firstly, a developer will come along during the course of a construction being built and say, you know what, it's no longer viable to build the small numbers of affordable homes we'd agreed to, and the council, for a number of reasons. Firstly, because they may lack the expertise to test the viability report. Two, because they're just soft and they're happy to be rolled over, will allow a developer to reduce the number of affordable homes.
Will you insist that people release brownfield sites?
I'm lobbying the government to get more powers around compulsory purchase. I've set up a new scheme to allow councils to borrow to assemble land around brownfield sites. That can often free up big pieces of land. We saw one example in Waltham Forest last year, but I want the powers, particularly in relation to surplus public land, in relation to brownfield site, to build the homes we need as a city.
The truth is, without government say-so, you have no power.
Absolutely right. I think we're the most centralised democracy in the Western world. When I compare my powers to the powers of the Mayor of New York, the Mayor of Tokyo, other mayors of great cities, I've got limited powers, but also Londoners have far fewer powers and far fewer say than Parisians or than New Yorkers.
You're the most powerful directly elected politician in this country, and you can't persuade Jeremy Corbyn of either complete adherence to the single market or indeed a second referendum and a deal.
Well, two things. Firstly, I mean, Jeremy Corbyn has made quite clear nothing's off the table, and I welcome that announcement from Jeremy Corbyn, Keir Starmer and John McDonnell. But secondly, look, Jeremy Corbyn's not the person negotiating, with the greatest respect, as much as I'd like him to, with the European Union. It's Theresa May and David Davis.
Yeah,
and
but
the key
come on,
thing
you
is,
can make him. You could put a bit of pressure on. For goodness' sake, you know, you're Mayor of London.
And I am. I meet David Davis regularly, and I met Theresa May a couple of weeks ago.
I mean pressure on Jeremy Corbyn to come and say everything's on the table, nothing's off the table. But why can't you get him to commit to staying within the single market and a second referendum in the deal?
Oh, well, Jeremy Corbyn's been quite clear. During the transitional deal, we want to stay members of the single market, stay members of the customs union, give a cast-iron guarantee to those in our country who are EU citizens who contribute hugely to our country. But the reality is, as much as I'd like, and the country would do better with Jeremy Corbyn negotiating with Michael Barnier and the European Union, it's Theresa May and David Davis. And I meet regularly with David Davis.
It actually might not make any much difference for you.
Oh, absolutely would. I'll tell you why, because there'd be a cast-iron guarantee to those Londoners. There's 1 million who are EU citizens, not sure about their future, 3.3 million across the country, not sure about their future. They get the cast-iron guarantee today. We'd have more certainty in relation to the transitional deal. There wouldn't be a cliff-edge fall in March 2019. But also our parties, not divided and split like the Tories. We'd be united behind our Prime Minister and the negotiators, Keir Starmer, to get a good deal for our country.
How concerned are you about the atmosphere at Westminster? We now know, of course, that there's this list of MPs and so forth. How do you react to that?
Well, I think the place where laws are made in our country, you know, the mother of all parliaments, should be a beacon for how to behave and conduct yourselves. And you know, whether you're a politician, whether you're a member of staff, whether you're a lobby journalist, you should be treated with dignity. You
probably heard Jess Phillips, the MP, talking about on the left, the Labour left, being very prone and guilty of misogyny.
Well, I think the Labour Party is probably as bad as other political parties. I think most institutions are not great at dealing with concerns people have around all sorts of behaviour that's unacceptable, whether it's sexist, whether it's racist, whether it's homophobic.
Well, we're in a situation now where we've got a government minister who doesn't deny getting his assistant to buy sex toys. Should he be sacked?
Yes. If he worked for me, he'd be sacked.
Sadiq Khan, thank you very much.